What are your guys' love languages? I like touch and, hey, Mrs. Green, and also...
Acts of service.
Mine is not. Carolina, good morning, good morning. Good morning, pre-show. Today's the 4th. Happy 4th, you too, Charlie.
Sheen.
Charlie Sheen.
I don't know who that is.
Okay. What are your love languages, Haley?
Why is that on there?
I live life.
Like a weirdo. That's not the right cover.
I know. It's not as gross as the other one.
What does that mean?
I don't like the other one.
Why?
Because it's foamy and stupid.
And that's not foamy and stupid?
Hello. It's
Yeah, it's not for that.
don't hold it like that. Hello.
It's for
Hey, will you get the other one out of there, please?
out of where?
Physical touch and quality time.
Out of where?
Nice. Down in the basket.
Oh. Who didn't see it?
Thank you. All right, let's go. Let's do this thing.
Let's do this thing.
Good morning, Ranajabin, Rania, Renage. I'm not sure.
Renata. It worked perfectly with what I just said. How's your mother?
Happy 4th to you.
Sorry.
What's up, A&D? What are people doing today? Blowing it up?
Excuse me.
Blowing stuff up?
Check. Check. Okay.
All right. Ready?
I think.
Let's drop this.
All right.
Okay.
Hello and welcome to the Anatomy of Marriage podcast. I'm your host, Melanie Studley.
Good morning. My name is Seth Studley. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist, and today is day 45. Growing wife, stagnant husband, family of origin, and generational addictions.
If you're new here, welcome. We have over 250 episodes about all things marriage related, relationship related, and we just love that you're here and that you're learning about your marriage and your relationships. And as always, our show is brought to you by Audible. Please go to audibletrial.com/anatomy of marriage to get a free audiobook on us, because we love you. We learn from Audible all the time, and we want you to do the same. So go do that.
That's right. Thank you for joining us on Instagram Live and also Facebook Live. And soon, hopefully, what? Colleen, what's up, girlfriend? Hey. Awesome. I'm so nervous now. No, I'm just kidding. But we do every day on Facebook Live and Instagram Live, and we're going to try to do YouTube Live to get that channel up and running again, because it was up and running for a long time, and we just kind of let it go. So welcome if you're new, and let's dive in.
Yep. Well, every day we read a review of the day. Actually, I didn't put one on there, so we're not going to do that today.
Okay, review of the day, 500 stars. Your podcast is the best, and I want to give you money. Whoa, thanks.
What a great review. Thank
awesome.
you, everyone.
Good morning, Colleen, Stephen, Meg.
Go ahead and read question number 1. I'm going to turn the light off real quick.
Okay, all right. Question number 1. My husband is so rebellious. I'm nearly certain it's a family of origin situation. It seems that if I want something, he doesn't. After talking to him about this, he began to shed some light. He had been feeling like his needs weren't being met. He hasn't been feeling validated, and I've made great efforts in turning those things around, even learning our love languages. However, that rebellious spirit lingers. I believe a lot of the issues could have been helped if we could connect. We haven't really been able to do that. It's very disappointing to both of us, but we've hung in there. We're Christians, but he won't worship with me, and he only me periodically. It seems important to get him to understand how this has impacted family. We both raised in Christian homes. He said that what he wanted to, and he said
he wants to go to church regularly, but he remains stagnant while the wife is growing. And then it says, I see some of his emotional struggle, but he tries to figure it out all on his own. I painfully watch him go in circles. What can I do?
Okay, so let's see. What can you do? I'm not really sure what the question is.
Well, I think there's several questions sort of woven together in here, and there's things I wanted to bring up. Because it talks about learning love languages, and I do think that that's really important. And it talks about a rebellious spirit. That could be an Enneagram thing. That could be just the type of personalities that you are. If you're not familiar with the Enneagram, listen to Sleeping at Last. That's a podcast, and they have Chris Hewerts, who talks about the different Enneagram stuff. So we have done Enneagram episodes, so you can go to anatomyofmarriage.com, and you can search in the search bar Enneagram, Enneagram.
Right.
And we have episodes about it. It's just different personality types. So I don't know necessarily that it's family of origin that your husband is rebellious, unless you see like that it's actively happening in his family, like his dad or whatever. Is that way?
Yeah, there's one thing that jumps out to me. After talking to him about this, he began to shed some light. He had been feeling like his needs weren't being met. So I want to go down the communication road. Okay, how do you guys communicate? If it's anything like me and Melanie, sometimes I just go along with things and then get kind of like a little bit angry about it. But if I do that for too long, then I'm like, oh yeah, well this and this and this. And she's like, why didn't you say that? And I'm like, I don't know. I just didn't say it, right? So it's all about communication styles. I would highly suggest using the clearing structure, which you can get on the website. And it talks about exactly how you're feeling. Because sometimes, at least in Western culture, men aren't, taught to share their feelings. We're just taught to like bear the brunt of stuff. And that doesn't, sure it has its place, but that doesn't work, especially doesn't work in our relationship, and leaves me feeling dissatisfied, not listened to, unheard, kind of thing.
And there's two things I want to say to that. So if you want to use the clearing structure like Seth mentioned, it's on our website under the tools tab. So there's a button that says tools, click that, or it says tools of marriage, click on that. And you'll see the clearing structure is one of those tools. It's like a sit down thing. You fill it out in the form. It's very easy to use. The second part of that is you said that you're not, you said, I believe a lot of the issues we have could be helped if we could connect. So I want to talk, I know I've talked about this before, but I think it's really important to point out.
Right.
Socially, women are taught and trained that they can connect through talking and hanging out and, hold on one second. Hey, Tough, get out. You're going to get in trouble. I need to get away. Shut the door. Sorry, my kids are in here, and they're going to get in trouble. But so you can connect through, women are often taught to connect a million different ways. We can do art together. We can go have wine and chat. We can go dance. We can go, do whatever. Like women have 1,000 billion ways that they can connect with people, other people, themselves. Men have like 2.
Right.
They can beat somebody up or they can have sex. That's literally like almost the only thing that men are allowed to do. I know that's a very generalized comment, but they don't have this giant array of socially acceptable options. Knitting, oh, that's weird.
Right. Okay. So
play piano for fun. What?
Let me tell you something about that. So I started jujitsu like 3 weeks ago. And
I'm getting people up.
Well, no, and I'm getting my butt kicked, and I'm so freaking sore. But I was thinking about this as I was like wrestling with literally guys that I don't know. I was like, this is awesome, and it was just like, and I mean, it's crazy because like you're just in positions where like, what is that, but it's wrestling, it's jiu-jitsu, and you're just doing stuff, and it does something to your brain. At least it has to mine. It's like, okay, let's do stuff and like make things and be creative. It's like it opened up kind of like something different that it hasn't been there for a while, right? Am I like best buds with these guys? No, I don't even remember
their names.
I don't even remember anybody's name. But just the act of that, I think that it helps me to be more present here, and it even helps like our intimacy life, which is interesting,
Well, and that's what I'm getting at.
So that's connecting with other guys in a way and having an outlet, which is cool.
But again, that is a very narrow window outlet. It's beating someone up, which is fine. Do that. That's great. But like so why I'm bringing all this up, why the fact that we are talking about men have like 2 primary outlets is that in a marriage, it's almost like more confined because your wife has expectations of what you should and shouldn't do and how you should and shouldn't talk. And so men often, all of their emotional, relational, everything is like in this big balloon, and the only funnel they have to connect with their wife is sex.
Right.
So that's the last thing a wife wants to hear if sex is not interesting to her, or she feels like, I just use our own marriage as that example. Like to me, sex wasn't connecting. I had been objectified by people my entire life, and I was like, no, I don't want that. That's not connecting. I want someone to listen to me, not look at me, right? I don't want you to touch me. Why don't you talk to me, right? But on the total other side of that same coin, Seth was saying, I just need to touch you. Like I need to, all of my emotional, relational, everything is funneled through this one experience, and there's no other way I can get that. Right. So there are ways.
They
don't believe there's another way.
It's up to the guys to find that and cultivate it.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. They don't believe that there is another way that they can connect emotionally, relationally, all of those things spiritually with their partner. So in that sentence it says, I believe a lot of the issues we have could be helped if we could connect. I agree with that. And I think that it's a very but I want to offer this idea of figure out a way that you can intentionally connect in order to tap into those things that you think aren't happening. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So like to be able to find a way to be intimate, but not like the goal is just sex. The goal is actually like 7 layers deeper into the dip. 7-layer dip.
7-layer dip. What you can do is get the Ultimate Intimacy app and have conversation starters. And that's a really good...
Oh, yeah, the conversations and the conversation starters, yeah. Mm-hmm. But I do think there's something to say about being stagnant. You're saying your husband is stagnant while you are still growing, and that there's a tension there that you don't like. And I kind of totally understand that. And that, like, you're going to church and he's not going. Here's the exercise I want you to try, if he's willing to talk about that, is project it out 6 months, a year, 5 years. And say, and ask. You say, hey, I feel like in the past you had mentioned that you wanted to be raising our kids or having our family go to church together, but I notice right now that we really don't go that often. What is it? What do we want? Like, what do we want that to look like in 6 months? Mm-hmm. Do we want to find a different church that maybe we both really feel like we're challenged in, or whatever? Mm-hmm. And kind of present it in a different way. Don't present it like I'm growing, you're stagnant, right? Mm-hmm. Like present it in a way that's an invitation to view the future differently, to see where you're at, and like the fact that every Sunday is an opportunity to make that connection. And if we don't make it, we didn't make it, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, then you prepare yourself for next Sunday and what you want. And so, great question.
But I want to just say, I don't think that your husband is rebellious. I think your husband doesn't feel understood and heard. And I think part of it is that culturally, that's not a thing men know how to do very well.
There's a great book called Wild at Heart by, I think, Eldridge. And I haven't read it, but all the podcasts and other media that I consume say to read that book.
You had Wild at Heart, didn't you?
I don't think so. I don't know. Maybe I did. I don't know. But it kind of exemplifies what I think. What is it? It's like we need a beauty to take care of, something beautiful, maybe a woman or whatever, or a task, something to defend, and then something to be proud of, or something like that. It's probably not right, but that's like what is important to most guys. It's a pretty interesting concept. Yeah. So maybe he should read that, and you should read it also. Okay, let's go to the next question.
Why do we have to go to the next question so fast? I just want to say a few more things. I think it's important, like Seth was mentioning, doing jujitsu, as unrelated as that seems, tapping into like a deeper part of who you are as a person. Maybe that's creatively, maybe it's physically, maybe it's spiritually. Helps people to live more fully and more present with their relationship. So is your husband doing stuff that makes him feel like he's growing? Is he challenging himself in really great ways that make him feel alive? Like, is he doing that, the sort of on the Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Is he doing the self-actualization thing at the peak? Because that's where people get stagnant, when they're just like, I just go to work, I just pay the bills, I just do this, life is stupid, life is hard, I don't like church is dumb. Find a way to get to that next level of growth. And that might be something that you can offer, and not like you need to grow so you can not be stagnant, but like, why don't we do something together? Let's go hiking, let's do pottery, let's do whatever.
Or also giving permission is a really big thing, and this is huge, like in the psychology therapy world. Sometimes we have unspoken assumptions that, Melanie would never want me to do that.
That's a great point.
Right? And I'm not going to push it, or I'm not going to do whatever. And we have even talked about this too. It's like, hey, even if you think it's silly or whatever, I need permission from you. And it's not like, you can't do this unless I say it. It's not that. It's like emotional, mental, spiritual permission that things will be okay.
It's almost like attunement. It's like...
it's attunement. It's like, Seth, I give you permission to go and do jiu-jitsu once a week, or to go hunting during hunting season, 4 times or 5 times or whatever. It's okay, and then like, because Melanie oftentimes feels guilty for like spending money or doing whatever, and I've repeatedly given her permission. I just say, go buy whatever shoes you want. And it's not like I control all the money, it's not that or anything. It's like, hey, we're in this together. If you want that, sure, let's talk about it and go do it. It is completely fine. And then that's up to you to do it or not. It's like, hey, I said you could. You're not doing it now for your own reasons that have nothing to do with me.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think, again, back in this conversation, it sounds like, stagnation is caused when we're not growing, when we're not actually growing. But you know what? The hard thing about growing is it means you're doing something you don't know if you can succeed at. You're doing something that you have no idea if you'll even like it. So it's scary. It's scary to be like, gonna go to college and get my master's degree, might flunk out, don't know, like I'm gonna spend money on this, I'm gonna take time to do it, and I might suck at it. So there's a whole element of fear that's involved with growth. And then I love that idea of giving the allowance and the permission and the having that attunement with your partner to be like, yes, you can do this. Because I go back to like, if your partner is if you think that they're feeling stagnant and their behavior is rebellious, it's probably fear. It's just fear and like a lack of knowing how to communicate it, and a lack of knowing or it's just like, I'm going to go back to everything I know. And maybe my dad was always just a total a-hole to my mom. So that's what I'm going to go do because I don't know any other way to do it. Because growing in that is scary. Yeah. I'd rather do what my family did instead of grow. So thank you for letting me talk longer about that.
You have permission.
I had permission.
Okay, so I'm not quite sure how to word this, but here it goes. There are certain generational curses that exist on both my side and my husband's side of the family. Alcoholism, drug addiction, abuse, just to name a few. I'm on the fence whether I truly believe generational curses exist, but I do see these patterns of going back to 5 to 6 generations in our family. My question is, would discovering and understanding FOO, family of origin stuff, help build a defense against that continuing these behaviors? My husband and I parent and raise our children completely.
I think it's differently.
Differently than our parents raised us, but I'm just wondering. And what were some books that discuss family of origin? Okay, so this is my absolute wheelhouse, right? So in Indian country, we talk about historical trauma and intergenerational trauma, right? Things...
When Seth says Indian country, he works with Native Americans.
Right, Native folks. And so there were things in Indian country that were terrible that happened, right? And they have been going on forever, right? And in other, also non-Native families, there was like some rift. We call it a schism, like a schism happened, right? It's kind of like in a series of unfortunate events, the schism. Well, that's actually a therapeutic term.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's like, think of like an earthquake happening and now there's a divide, right? Something happened that changed the course of our lives, right? A huge thing. Also, we call them nodal events, but whatever. So maybe there was something that happened a long time ago and that trauma has been just perpetuated, right? Because the family of origin, we are going to do what our families did. It's the university of relationships, right? And the most beautiful thing about this is it absolutely 100% can stop right here. Generations of trauma, generations of maladaptive reactions, generations of hurt can heal right here. What is there? Oh boy, I can't think of the phrase that I was going to say, but it absolutely can stop. So this is the first step. What's up, T? This is the very first step of stopping that trauma, is understanding it, being interested in it, seeing it, acknowledging it. Yeah, all this crap happened. It can stop here. Not saying it's going to be easy, or not saying you're going to get support or anything, but it absolutely can stop here. And one of the best books on this, to understanding family of origin, is, I think we talked about it last week or a couple days ago, is Family Ties That Bind by
someone who wrote it.
Richards, I think. Family Ties That Bind. It's a red book with little Russian tea dolls on it. Just Google it. Nesting dolls. And that really, really opens up your brain to like, oh, I do this because my grandpa treated my dad this way, and now I'm treating my kid that way, being short or abusive or being super loving or whatever. So when I say we actually absolutely can stop it, I really do mean that. It's like my grandpa went through this trauma, I don't know, World War II, or being taken to boarding schools in Indian country or whatever. He didn't learn this stuff. He came back, didn't have the tools, had kids, treated his kids this way. So my dad learned that, and then he perpetuated that to me, and now I'm seeing that same exact behavior with me and how I'm treating my sons or my daughter or even my wife, right? So things like alcoholism or drug addiction. Trauma, let's see. Trauma is the gateway drug to addiction. It's not just like, oh, smoke a joint and now I'm doing heroin, you know, like everybody used to say in the 80s or 90s. It's trauma. Addiction, any kind of addiction, starts from some sort of trauma, some sort of rift, some sort of schism that happens, and then we're just trying to be like, oh crap, I'm in a canoe and I have 0 paddles and there's a big waterfall up ahead, you know.
another part of that, like you said, trauma is the gateway to addiction.
Right.
Another thing that I've read recently was the opposite of addiction is connection. So that's important. I just want you to kind of get that into your mind for a second. But one of the things that it talked about in here was the idea of generational curses or whatever in families. And I think there needs to be an awareness of how that, and I don't, generally generational curses is like a biblical, I think it's a religious way to say generational, like addiction, right?
It's basically a way to talk about family of origin.
But it's biblical, right? So it's like church-based?
I don't know.
I'm just saying that in case people don't know what that means,
Okay.
in case people have never heard the term generational curse.
Right.
I think it's like a biblical or religious way to talk about like the patterns of behaviors over generations. And so one example that is super silly almost, but from my own family of origin, is that my family that I grew up in, my mom is super jumpy, right? And so she's like every loud sound, every whatever. So I just was really jumpy forever. Every loud sound scared me. Everything was terrifying. Like when we moved into this apartment, how many months ago? Every single sound gave me a wave of
Gave you a body response,
like anxiety, like seriously, like I would go every sound. A door would shut, a car would start, an alarm would go off, a kid would make a noise in some other apartment, and I would be like, oh my gosh, like my whole body would just go right. And at some point, at first I was like, I'm gonna have a panic attack and die here. I can't deal with this. But then I was like, wait a minute, this is just something I learned.
Right.
And what if I could train myself to be okay, to eventually be fine with this? And last night there was fireworks going off, and I was like, oh, that's just fireworks. Like I didn't go, right, which I literally would do before. The vapors. And so it's an interesting and weird kind of way to think about that. The family of origin things we inherit can actually manifest themselves physically in our bodies. So it takes such like you have to be able to kind of go way, like Dan Siegel talks about the idea of there's like multiple versions of you. There's the version of you that's living and talking and doing things and eating food, and then there's a version of you sort of like up in the bleachers watching you do those things. There's a version of your mind that's like completely disconnected to what's happening with, it's the part that thinks about stuff. Don't tickle me. It's the part that thinks about stuff when you're doing something. So there's two parts of our mind. You need to use that guy up in the bleachers, that lady sitting up in the bleachers watching you in the arena. You use that brain to look at your family of origin generational things and go, wait, what am I really doing? What am I really saying? Am I perpetuating? Because it's so much bigger than just dad yelled at the kids. Right. Sometimes it's like a much deeper seated thing.
No, I would say not sometimes. It always is. And through therapy and a ton of introspection, you can actually find it. Like hearing. We'll read that comment in a minute. But hearing you talk about your mom, maybe there was like some. I don't know. Maybe there was some sort of attack that she went through or something that startled her.
Well, I know. I mean,
she created that startle response, which would be a PTSD response, and then something happened. This is my new way of being, and guess what? You're learning from a little girl. It's like, oh yeah.
Everything is scary. Like, make sure you're safe. Make sure everyone's safe. Yeah.
Same thing with alcoholism or drug addiction or whatever. Something happened. I saw my dad drunk most of the time. I thought about this a long time ago.
You're not saying that.
No,
about
not me, but just an example. And I thought about this a long time ago. Like, parents who smoke have kids that smoke. That's just, like growing up in the 80s, people used to smoke inside all the time. Everybody smoked. So why wouldn't I smoke? Why wouldn't I smoke? Or you know what I'm saying? Like parents that exercise or do podcasts. Our kids are probably going to do a podcast and run and wake up early in the morning or who knows what. Or cold dip, right? Things like that. And it's so interesting to me because it's like if we're willing to do the work and like go back, we can trace these things back to be like, that's when it happened. Things were normal. Things were beautiful. Things were awesome. But that's when it happened. And like when in Indian country is a perfect example through boarding schools and all kinds of wacky policies that the United States government had. It's like things were beautiful. Things were harmonious. Sure there were wars and stuff in between, but that's always happened. But like this massive trauma, massive group trauma really changes things. And if you can go, oh, that's when it happened. That's why your native grandma, treated you this way because her parents went to boarding school. They didn't know, and that's when it happened. So it's like, that's when it happened. I'm not going to push that forward. I'm not going to perpetuate that.
And there's no judgment on how people dealt with the things that they went through. Like, we're not saying, oh, my grandma, she had no idea. Blah. We're just saying, holy crap, she lived through that, and she did the absolute best she freaking could with the situation of her childhood and her life, and it was great. She did good. She was good. Right, whatever. Not anything bad. So it's hard because I think we often, it is interpreted as if we need to judge the things that are historically have happened in our families.
Okay,
there's a bunch of
let's read
comments.
this. A vicious cycle of trauma causing isolation and addictions causing isolation, which perpetuates shame and guilt, feeding isolation. Opening up about trauma and addiction are the only ways to break free and to free ourselves and break from those negative cycles.
That's awesome.
Yes, 100%.
That is so true.
Thank you so much for answering the question. You're welcome. And yes, generational curses is a religious way of saying family of origin. That's right. And so I'm going to kind of go to like some church circles or whatever, saying a generational curse. It's like, oh, I'm just cursed.
I don't like that language.
I don't like that. You know why? Because it is labeling, and it is not empowering, and it also, and I'm not going to say it's an excuse. It's almost like that is my reason why I do what I do, right? And so many people in therapy, so many couples come in and say, well, I'm just snarky, you know, or you would say, well, I'm just sarcastic, or like, you know, for me,
was an
like,
identifier.
well, I just in this way. It's like bull crap. You're not that. You know what? You may be that way, but I'm not.
Call bull crap on your generational curse. Because I'll tell you what, like
I have before, like in therapy and stuff. I'm like, I'm not buying that, sister. You know?
Have them write it down, and then you tear the piece of paper up. And
Yep. Bull crap.
Bull crap.
Did I blow my nose with it?
Gross. I think it's important to really not take on the identity of that generational curse, right? So, especially when it's something that you can change. So if it's like, yeah, we have a generational curse of like the husbands in our family, the men are all just total jerks, and that's just the curse we deal with.
Right.
No. Every moment of every day that your husband, like you as a man, Seth, you're the husband.
This guy.
Every time you talk to me, you have a choice. You can either generational curse me or just be nice.
Right.
And it's every single time, 1,000 billion times a day for the rest of your life that you choose to not walk in that path. And guess what? It
hurts, and we want to blame because probably we have been
it's super easy and fun to blame.
into a pattern of blaming and say, well, if you wouldn't this, then I wouldn't do that. I have so many male clients that do that. I'm like, I'm going to strangle you because it's like... Because you do jujitsu? No, not yet. I'm not that good. But anyway, somebody says, does addiction cause behavior abuse?
Yes.
I'm not sure what that means. Like, sure, if I'm like addicted to something, then my behavior will treat other people.
It doesn't cause it. Let's say this a different way. Addiction doesn't cause behavioral abuse or behavior abuse. Addiction is, I would say, very strongly like if you're addicted to something, you don't feel that you're in control of things. And you will manipulate people and be mean to them.
Right.
That's what you mean?
And if you are under the influence of addiction, and I'm not just talking like drugs or alcohol, like I'm addicted to
Pinterest.
super negative thinking. Or whatever, or this mindset. That will change your behavior, which your behavior, while you're under the influence of whatever that is, can possibly cause... bad behavior.
It directly did that with me. I talked about this a few episodes back where I was addicted, no joke, to thinking that something was perpetually wrong. I would feel something in my body. I would go, oh, God, like I would feel this like gut, like the. So when we moved to the apartment, I was like, we messed up. I'd have all this fear that would just come out of absolutely nowhere. And then I would just go like, worst decision ever. I think I'll sit in this fear. And then I would become addicted to that cycle. And then, you know what I would do? My behavior from that addiction, I would point it all at Seth. I'd be like, this is your fault.
Do you remember Paris?
Don't even talk about Paris. You bought the plane ticket. Okay. So my behavior was absolutely based on my addiction to feeling that something was wrong and that it was somehow Seth's fault that I was feeling fear. right? If that makes
Yes.
sense. There's more comments here.
Let's see. So hopefully that answers the addiction caused behavior abuse. Me either. It drives me crazy, but I didn't know of another way to word it. Yeah, but family of origin and generational abuse are the same thing, and it
so much
can
better
perpetuate.
to say and it's empowering. Yeah.
Okay, I don't know what this means. People are asking to request to
Don't
be
push
in your
it. It
live
messes
video.
up
I
every
think that if
time.
we do that, then they can talk to us.
Someone's
like
got
a picture in the
to tell
video.
us what it means on Facebook when someone requests to be in our live video because we don't know how to do it.
Yeah,
Why don't
so-
you just try?
I don't know who it is. It's not. It might be like a troll.
Yeah,
or
so
something,
using the word
I don't
generational
know.
curse perpetuates a victim mentality. This is my husband. This is what my husband is dealing with in his family. His parents are stuck with what happened to them and can't change. I find myself under verbal attacks mostly like a addictive spouse.
Yeah, that's hard, but you can.
And that's all.
100%.
Yeah.
You can 100% choose how you're going to respond to it and say, these are my boundaries. When you do that, this isn't working for me. Like Melanie, so I have been a jerk to Melanie about 8 zillion times. I'll say, don't do it. Don't be in the live video. Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
we won't do
I don't
it.
know. If it was
Thank
somebody
you
we
for
knew,
the-
we
thank
would,
you.
but there's no picture there. Accept it and it pops into your screen. Yeah, okay, thanks, T.
Okay, thank you.
So what was I saying? Oh, yeah. So there's been times when I've been really stupid and just mean and nasty to Melanie, and she's been like, nope, I will not let you talk to me that way. And I'm like, okay, and it kind of stops me in my tracks. And like maybe 2 or 3 times I've done that to you, and it really does just like, it turns the water hose off of like, I'm not going there. You know, you can come back to me after we apologize or blah blah blah. But it's very important to create boundaries, strong boundaries around that.
So I want to talk about this comment. It says, I find myself under verbal attacks almost daily from an addictive spouse. So there is there's this book called I Hope I Screw This Up by Kyle Cease. I just recently purchased he has a video course. It's $20. $20, y'all. That's nothing. It's $20. It's called The Limitation Game. And it's a live event. It's like 12 hours of videos. It's insane. Or 12 video. I can't remember, but it's awesome.
Right.
It is unbelievable. Listen to it. Buy it for $20. Get his book. I Hope I Screw This Up. It's by Kyle Cease. I'm going to mention it again. I'm going to post it. But he talks about this idea. And this is to the addictive wife, the addictive spouse getting angry and yelling at you or whatever. So we create we believe in fear, right? We believe in fear. It's going to sound really stupid for a minute. Just hang in there. But Kyle Cease talks about this idea. So I had this fear that when we moved from this apartment or from the house to this apartment, because people were like, why did you do that? Why did you sell your beautiful home? Like, that's not a good idea. And I was like, oh my gosh, they're right.
Right.
And so they had a fear, or they had a judgment, whatever that was. A concern. And it was like a piece of blank paper, and they drew a scary monster of something bad's going to happen. You moved out of your house. And I would take that scary monster drawing and I would hang it on my wall, and I'd be like, something bad's going to happen. I moved out of my house. But what if they never drew it in the first place? What if I never hung it up on my wall? I would not worry about it, right? Fear is this weirdly bizarre thing that we create. We create the idea that something is scary, or someone is bad, or Seth is wrong, or my dad is a jerk, or whatever it is. And then we don't even care about the actual thing that's going on. We just care about the thing we created, the fear, the drawing of the monster. And then we attack it and we yell at it and we tell it to go away. But really we created it.
Right.
So I'm saying all of this because your wife, your partner who is yelling at you, who is addictive and verbally abusive, has created a drawing of a monster and is putting everything onto you. That's what I was doing to Seth. Does that make sense?
Right. So that ties back into the boundaries. Like, you can draw all the monsters you want to, and I'll be like,
and I did for years. I did this to Seth for years.
Taking those.
Yeah.
I'm not taking those anymore. I'll help you crumble them up and throw them away, but I'm not putting them on my wall, which is so unbelievably hard.
But the thing is, I would say too, is that you as the spouse receiving that, or the sort of victim side of that, can say, hey, what are you really afraid of? What is the fear behind all of this stuff? And if I could, if I did that in the apartment situation, or and I'll try to think of other ones too, but like in the apartment situation, the fear is, oh my gosh, we've messed up. But then if I think about it long enough, I'm like, what have we messed up? We're really happy here. I don't know what have I messed up? Well, maybe money? No, I don't even think we've done that. We're going to work towards the thing we want. So if I think about the fear long enough, not the drawing of the monster, if I think about like the deeper things like behind the drawing of the monster, it's not scary. It's actually not scary. So maybe the partner who is verbally yelling at you and whatever, there's, I think, a few things that need to happen. You need to say, hey, I love you so much, but I won't be yelled at. You just can't scream in my face. You can't say that it's my fault that you're afraid. I'm not making you afraid. Then the second layer of that is, let's talk about, what are you afraid of? What are you afraid of, right? There's like these questions that go beyond the like frantic being afraid of the monster on the wall, that we drew it ourselves, right?
Right.
What are you reading?
So the person that wanted to jump on the thing, sorry for calling you a troll. I didn't know who it was.
Who called you a troll?
It says, I don't know either, but every time I want to watch it, it pops up, and I can't see other people's comments until I hit the request. Sorry. No problem.
Did you call someone a troll?
Well, not really.
Oh.
But what was I saying? Oh, yeah. Okay, so we're way over time here, but this is a super good topic. Boundaries. Don't take that fear drawing and put it on your wall if somebody else wrote it. Think of your own fear drawings. And I just think of the times where we have been robbed. You know, like I'll give 3 specific examples. Like when we were in Paris, like no kids. We were in freaking Paris for 5 days. Melanie.
Robbed?
Yeah.
The times we have been robbed? What?
Robbed of other enjoying things, right?
Okay, you needed to have said that. So I was like, we were robbed in Paris? I don't remember that.
I didn't tell you. I didn't want to make you have fear. No, but
the times that fear stole our joy.
Right. So anxiety, like Paris, you know, sure, there's a lot of stressful things, like our plane almost crashing, being in a different city that we don't speak the language, and it's crazy, right? But it's also a beautiful time, and we turned it into a beautiful time. It was awesome, right? Or the times when we went to Great Wolf Lodge, and I was like not present and had some weird anxiety. It's like, what am I doing, right?
Yeah.
You didn't accept my fear, thankfully, on that one. And then the other time, the ropes course, I'm like, what is wrong with me? I'm not scared. I'm just like anxious about the kids or whatever. And then we've had tons of beautiful times where we're like, hey, be here. Let's do this. Me and you. High five. Go. Have an awesome time.
Yeah, there's sort of like a fear, I think, creates this pretend. And I'm not saying fear is fake, so please don't hear me saying that. I know there are things that are really scary in the world, but the thought and the getting stuck in the cycle of fearing and being afraid and meditating on terrible ideas or meditating on how terrible someone is like being on an exercise bike. You're just going and going and going and going, but you never get anywhere. You never get any farther. And so you have to get off of the like treadmill, the exercise bike, the like I'm just thinking and thinking and doing. You have to get off of that and then look back at it and say, what was I actually thinking about? What was the thing I was so freaked out about? And it takes this kind of grounding, solid presence to get to that place. And I'm going to use this. I talked about the idea of a lizard brain. We all have like the very, very core of our brain, the amygdala of our brain is like super, super old. It's primal. It's afraid of everything. And it's like a lizard. If you touch a lizard that looks fairly calm, it goes, right? Like the lizard just like all of a sudden it freaks out and it's going everywhere, right? So that happens. And we all have that like old primal brain in our head somewhere.
Right.
So the thing that happens when people are in a fear cycle and they're blaming and they're yelling at you, they say it's your fault. It's this, you're dumb, you're bad, you're what? Their lizard is losing its freaking mind. So if you approach a lizard that's losing its mind with another lizard that's losing its mind,
what are you going to do?
It's just, it will never end. Yeah, it's just like insanity times a billion and it will never end. But if you can help that lizard brain person calm everything down, just calm everything down, right? We do this with our kids. Like when our kids are freaking out, I have to be like, it's just like a lizard who got poked with a stick and he doesn't know what's going on. I'm not going to hurt it.
So,
but
I have a hilarious visual, right? So I was literally in the jungle in Costa Rica, right? Because we got lost. We had to abandon our raft.
I didn't go to Costa Rica. He went by himself.
And there's iguanas everywhere. And we're like, whoa, this iguana is crazy. And, it's like seeing them and like, we would sneak up on them and stuff, and these iguanas would go, just like crazy, tearing A down the hill as fast as they could, with their tail flying and stuff. And it was so funny, and it scared the crap out of you too. Like,
you thought you were gonna.
This 4-foot iguana is like running at light speed, and banana leaves are flying everywhere. It's like, oh my gosh, it's the scariest thing. So that's
so funny. Well, and it really is like that. And people get stuck in that mode, and then it's two people in that mode, and it's terrible. Whatever you.
Okay. Our friend T says Kelly Clarkson.
Seth's favorite.
Seth's your bingo.
Okay, all right.
Has a song called Invincible, and one of the lyrics in the bridge is about having fears about things that didn't exist. just wanted to share that song because it's dope and empowering as
Invincible.
all get out.
Okay, Seth loves Kelly Clarkson.
Well, I only know like
his
one
language.
song. It's like
Oh, he wishes I was
Maybe
Kelly Clarkson.
No, I don't. Maybe I'll check that song out. That's pretty
Thank
cool.
you for sharing it, though.
Yeah, like we make up our fears.
Yeah.
You know why we make up our fears? Because we're scared to do we're scared of what is the potential on the other side of that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can't go to grad school. What if I get in $1 zillion of debt and it's crazy or it's weird. Yeah, what if you go to grad school and then you get a master's degree and you're a therapist and now you start a podcast and you speak to thousands of people a day. Oh, weird.
What if that happened? Yeah, and I think the other thing too is I want to ask this question. When you're in that fear cycle, when you're the freaked out lizard, what if you took all of the energy that you had been giving to that fear and instead you put it to bringing a solution that was life-giving and helpful? Right. All of the energy of blaming, calling someone stupid, saying it's your fault we got the tickets to Paris, we almost died on the plane, I hate your guts, I want to go home.
You really
right?
did.
I really did. I freaked out. And what if instead I said, oh, that was fear. That was fear. That was a drawing of the monster. That was a drawing of the burning plane that I am absolutely deathly afraid of. And instead, I just went, I'm going to take all of that fear. I'm going to acknowledge that I was afraid of that. And then I'm going to bring life-giving solutions. What are you smiling at?
And then when she was freaking out in Paris, I grabbed her like this.
Oh, gosh, no,
said,
you didn't.
Oui, mademoiselle.
Oh, God,
and then,
okay.
And then stuffed a Macron in her face, and then we went to...
Everything is fine.
Yeah.
That didn't happen. I cried a lot for like a day. It's cool. But anyway, thank you. Are you reading another question?
No. Okay. Geez, longest podcast ever.
No, this is great. Thank you for letting us talk about this. Thank you for sending in your questions. Fear is so insane, and it makes people do a lot of the things that they do, and they don't realize that they do it. So please, for the love of all things holy, read the book or listen to the audiobook, even better. Kyle Cease, I hope I screw this up. And he is a comedian that became a life coach. And he's phenomenal. He does swear kind of a lot, or whatever. I mean, it doesn't bother me, but if it bothers you, just heads up.
Right.
So check out Kyle Cease's book, I hope I screw this up. You can get it for free on Audible if you go to audibletrial.com/anatomy of marriage. We will give you his book for free because we love you. So do that, and then buy his sessions. The what did I call it? The limitation game. It's $20. It is so worth it.
It is good. So, please post
the name of the book. Okay, we'll post perfect. It. But it's all about understanding what
Kyle
fear
Cease
is.
On?
Oh, trust me.
Awesome.
Kyle Cease
you should reach out to
is my new Wayne Dyer. I actually thought about that last night. I love Wayne Dyer. Let's not talk about it.
Okay. All right. We love you guys. Have an awesome 4th. Wear your sunglasses and...
For everyone on the podcast, Seth has an eagle shirt with a bald eagle with sunglasses and an American flag hat. And
it's a do-rag, Mel.
It's a do-rag. Okay, sorry.
All right.
Anyway, thank you so much. We're going to post all that stuff. Thank you for joining us. Have an amazing 4th. Be safe. And if you're not from America, have a good day.
Keep all your fingers.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Keep all your fingers.
Yeah.
That's funny.
All right. Thanks for sticking around, guys. We love you. Have an awesome time.
New Jersey.
Post New Jersey.
It says from New Jersey.
Oh, sweet.
See ya.
New Jersey, right on.
I want to go to New Jersey. I've never been there.
Yeah.
I've never been to New Jersey. Don't laugh about New Jersey.
I'm not.
It's rude.
It's funny.
I apologize.
All right. Love you guys. Jersey, yeah?
Oh.
Okay. All right. She says, nah, you don't want to
go. I'd like to experience it. That sounds fun.
All right. You don't want to. I've been there. It's an experience.
It's a thing.
All right. Love you guys.